President Vest, members of the Corporation of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, distinguished members of the faculty, Mayor Reeves, happy graduates, even happier parents, and others gathered here today, I am pleased and honored to be with you this morning. MIT has shown a standard of excellence in education and research that sets a benchmark for universities everywhere. You who've been at the Institute for years may be excused if you take this in stride. But for me, coming here for the first time in several years, the energy of the place is palpable. Actually, my reaction is somewhat personal. When as a young man I began to think about colleges, MIT was my first choice. In the end, I acceded to the advice of my grandfather, who favored Harvard. In fact, I didn't even apply anywhere other than MIT, and MIT accepted me on the basis of my grades. They didn't even ask me to take an examination, which is good, because I could hardly understand written English. When my grandfather told me I shouldn't enroll here, I was devastated. That really put the kibosh on my plans to study science. You see, I learned Harvard English. Education has been important to my family for a long time. My forefathers founded Al-Azhar University in Cairo some 1,000 years ago, at the time of the Fatimid Caliphate in Egypt. Discovery of knowledge was seen by those founders as an embodiment of religious faith, and faith as reinforced by knowledge of workings of the Creator's physical world. The form of universities has changed over those 1,000 years, but that reciprocity between faith and knowledge remains a source of strength. MIT has changed also over its 130 years. This university was initially designed to meet the needs of society in a newly industrialized world. As the world and its needs evolved, so has MIT's curriculum. Steadily, the emphasis on social sciences and humanities has expanded, as the Institute has recognized increasingly that the range of technologies that are needed to solve societal problems goes far beyond those of engineering and natural sciences. The increased richness of education results in an increasingly versatile set of graduates. As I look out over those today who are here, I see that MIT has changed in other ways. The great continents of the world are now represented in your student body and in your faculty. So too are the great religions of the world. MIT seems prepared to take advantage of excellence from all quarters, a fact that is sure to reinforce the Institute's future strength. When I was thinking about the theme that I should choose for this talk, I considered first that commencements are occasions to reflect on general truths that will retain their validity over the course of your lives and over the wide range of intellectual interests that you graduates embody. But how is that search for generality to be squared with the very particular point in time that today represents? You and I are here in a real sense only because 1994 finds MIT and the world at distinctive stages of their evolution. Still, the particular can provide insight into the general, so my comments today will draw on the particular in the hope of saying something of value about the general. I shall talk today about encounters. Encounters. When two people meet, or two particles, or two cultures. In that crucial moment of interaction, the results of an encounter are determined. In the simplest of encounters, say with two billiard balls, the outcome is a predictable result of position, velocity, and mass. But the encounters that interest me most are not so simple. In the encounters of people and cultures, much depends on the path that each has taken to that point. These are not stochastic processes. The subjects have histories. The encounter has complexity and rich dimensionality. The result of an encounter between two people or between two cultures is shaped by the assumptions of each, by their respective goals, and perhaps more directly relevant to a university, by the repertoire of responses that each has learned. Encounters, therefore, have aspects of both the general and the specific. What makes our current time distinctive are the new combinations of people and cultures that are participating in these encounters. Two ongoing social and political changes illustrate the reasons for these new combinations. The first is the collapse of communism in the USSR and Eastern Europe. You graduates may feel that you have been at MIT forever, but it really is remarkable that the overturning of the communist world has occurred since most of you started your studies here. You go out into a world where the rules are different from those that held when you entered. Colonialism is moribund. No longer is it enough to decide whether one is aligned with communism or capitalism in a bipolar world. Now, a full range of complicated choices is opened up to people in the developed and the developing world alike. A massive brake on change has been released. The potential for creative action, creative encounters, is now much enhanced. This change is a work in progress, however. The potential of the moment must be seized, for conditions for change may not always be so propitious. There is the real possibility that the Soviet Union may reconstitute itself if the social upheaval that accompanies political disintegration and economic reform is allowed to become less tolerable than the strictures of a totalitarian state. While these shocks reverberate from the ex-communist bloc, profound changes of a very different character are to be found in the Islamic world. Here, the changes are in both perception and reality, and both of them are works in progress too. The Islamic world is remarkably poorly understood by the by the West, almost terra incognita. Even now, one sees pervasive images in the West that caricature Muslims as either oil sheikhs or unruly fundamentalists. The Islamic world is, in fact, a rich and changing tapestry, which the West would do well to understand. The economic power of the Islamic world is increasing, not so much because of Middle Eastern oil, but because of the rapid growth of newly industrializing countries like Malaysia and Indonesia. Its population is increasing and already represents nearly 1/4 of the world's total. It is remarkably diverse, ethnically, economically, politically, and in its interpretations of its own faith. The Muslim world can no longer be thought of as a subset of the developing world. Islam is well represented in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Western Europe, and that presence is growing. The religious diversity of Islam is important and misunderstood by most non-Muslims. This is not the forum to go into the multiple reasons for this misunderstanding. But for many in the West, the first awareness that there were two major branches of Islam, Shia and Sunni,